Well, welcome to this back care class. Now, this class was inspired by Dr. Stu McGill, who is a back rehab specialist. Well, he's many things perhaps, but that's one of his areas of expertise. He's written several books. He's worked with elite athletes and recovered their back function with them. He's kind of known for his big three, which is kind of a modified curl-up that we'll be doing today, a bird dog, which you know from yoga, and side planking. So these are three positions, and they have some variations that he finds are really beneficial for people to regain their ability to brace their core in a pain-free position. So that's kind of what that's about. It's not so much about movement through the core, although you can introduce movement as somebody progresses through their rehab. The other elements of this class are inspired by Dr. Chami John, who is also a rehab specialist, rehabbing a lot of athletes, but also just regular people. And he works a lot with various isometrics that, you know, I've shown some of them to you guys, and we'll be doing at least one of them today. Okay, so I want to just say that this is not for somebody who's in acute pain or having, you know, some kind of flare-up or a recent injury or anything like this. This is for somebody who is aware that they have back pain, perhaps, you know, episodically, something like that, or somebody who has had a past injury, they've come through the recovery phase, they just want to do some basic maintenance on the spine. So you'll see that it's about bracing the core and controlling core pelvic movement is largely what this is about. There's not a lot of extreme like end range movement or anything like that. This is very much a contained movement practice. Okay, so we're going to begin on the back with breathing. So you guys can just actually step onto your feet from there. Yeah, so just put your feet down. Just keep it super relaxed. I'm going to invite you to have your hands on your bellies. And we'll just take a few abdominal breaths. So let's just make sure that we're able to let the diaphragm move as we breathe. So you might even want to have like the base of your thumb up against your lower ribs, and then the hands, the fingers spread over your abdomen. And we'll just take a few deep breaths in and out through the nose. Let your belly fill on the inhalation and let the belly soften back down on the exhalation, just taking a few breaths like that. So it does take probably 3 or 4 rounds before you become aware of whether or not you can actually let the belly soften and breathe, and if you actually allow some actual diaphragmatic movement through the breath. So, you know, again, if I was coaching somebody through a back care class, I might spend a little extra time on this part. But now I want to kind of move into a little bit more awareness of how the core turns on and how you can actually breathe with the core turned on. Okay, so we've been breathing in a relaxed manner. Now we're not going to give ourselves a big challenge, but I want you to just tone your belly a little bit. So how we're going to do that is we're going to press into the feet just a little bit. So press down into your feet. If you want to use your organization and activation kind of method, you can, but not a lot, just enough so you feel like, okay, my lower belly turns on now. Okay, so you're pressing into your feet to that degree. So notice if, you know, your low back is coming away from the mat. It's good if there's a little bit of space or your tissue is barely touching the mat in the low spine. That's great. Now, over the next couple of breaths, make sure you keep breathing. You're going to keep one foot on the floor and pick the other one up just a little bit. And what you want to notice is, can I keep my core turned on while I do that, and breathe? So it's a foot lift, it's a core brace, and you're breathing. And then switch. So just go back and forth and just notice the different tension forces that move through your body as you switch feet. You know, there's going to be a moment there where you kind of turn on a different set of muscles. So just give yourself a little exploration of that. Make sure you continue to breathe nice and steady, and full. Great. Now you're going to just bring both feet to the floor and turn everything off. Great. Now let your arms come beside your body. We're going to do another little awareness exercise. This is actually from Hannah Somatics. This is called the arch and curl. I feel like this is another really key experience for people who have had low back issues. It just gets to know your range and know how the breath connects to spine flexion and extension. So what we'll do here, some of you have done this with me before, we're going to take a big inhale, and when we do, we're going to let the belly balloon out. So big balloon at the abdomen, and then as we exhale, we're going to drain everything into the navel, and then you can pull your pelvis posteriorly, press the low back against the mat, and then inhale, balloon out. So you're going to let your back arch here, and you'll actually let the chin tuck a little bit because you're arching so much under the back. And then you'll exhale and draw everything into the navel. Press the low back against the floor. Your chin is going to pop up toward the ceiling. All right, once again, inhale, arching the spine, letting the chin tuck. It's kind of naturally going to happen as you kind of let this go. And then exhale, start to drain. As you drain into the navel, your chin's going to pop upward. Your pubic bone pops upward. And now as you inhale, you're going to open up. Your tail goes into the mat. The back of your head goes into the mat, and you tuck your chin. Okay, one more time. Drain everything into the navel. Doesn't this look like a stress response? And then inhale, tail, tuck the chin, arching the spine. Good. Let's do it one more time. So drain into the navel, pubic bone lifts, chin lifts. And inhale, tail goes down, chin tucks. And then just as you let that go back to a neutral position, just completely neutral, and take a couple of breaths in neutral. Beautiful. Now, your core brace happens somewhere between those 2 points. We don't necessarily want to pull ourselves into that drained position when we brace the core. A lot of times when we brace the core, we want to be very neutral as we brace the core. So we're finding neutral. And now I want you to turn on your core brace. Okay? Turn that on. Now, we're going to make a little change because you'll probably feel it pretty easy to do a core brace with your feet pressing down. Okay, everybody's experiencing that. Now I want you to let it go a little bit, and then 1 foot at a time, slide your heel forward till both legs are straight. So one at a time, good. Keep a little bit of core brace happening. Great. Now, can you brace your core with your legs straight? Okay, so you guys know what to do. If you guys want, because you're used to doing this, you could press into your heels slightly, but you may find that you don't need to do that. So you just work with what you need to do. And the core brace is somewhere in that neutral position, okay? Now we're gonna make sure we don't posteriorly tilt too much by taking our hands, palms down toward the mat, and slipping the fingers under the small of the back. So you're gonna have your palms down. Yeah, okay, and then you're gonna lift your elbows a little bit, float the elbows. Great, you guys got that? Now you're gonna brace your core. Okay, so again, you're bracing the core just such that you can keep breathing, okay? We don't want to shut down movement too much. So brace the core. You're going to keep your eyes looking at the ceiling. And when you feel ready to, it might be on an exhale, you're going to lift the head as though you're just lifting it off a weigh scale. Okay, so if the weigh scale could feel the weight of your head, you're going to now bring the weigh scale to 0. You're going to just take the weight off of your head. So maybe it's going to come up a couple millimeters from the floor, and that's it. I know because you guys are used to more bigger movements, that's going to be probably pretty challenging to just barely lift the head. So neck is neutral, and we're going 4, 3, 2, 1. Put your head back down. Take a nice deep breath. Cleanse it out. What happened to your core? Notice. Okay, we're going to take another round. We're going to just hold it up for about 8 seconds. So brace, elbows are lifted, turn on your core, pelvic floor, lower belly. Press into your heels if you need that extra sensory input. And when you're ready, you're just going to take the head off the weigh scale. Just off the weigh scale, okay? Keep breathing while your core is being braced. It's subtle. It's not a big, strong movement. 4, 3, 2, 1. And then bring the head down. Just take a couple of breaths. Cleanse it out. We'll just do it one more time for good measure. Okay, so let's lift the elbows, brace the core, and now take the head off the weigh scale. Just keep the neck neutral, just turning on the core. You're feeling those subtle engagement through the core that the weight of your head will bring, okay? This is very much kind of toward the upper end of the core. 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax it out. Good. Roll your head from side to side in case you started building up some tension in the neck. Okay, very nice. Now we're going to go into some sideways movement. So you guys are going to roll toward your right shoulder. Put the block under your head. Great. So what we're doing here is we're going to be lifting the legs. So you're probably going to want your left hand to help support in front of your body, planted on the ground. Just keep your right arm in a comfortable position. And now, best you can, you're going to straighten your legs. They don't have to be perfectly straight, but see if you can straighten them. Okay, and now you'll go into your core brace. Again, you want to feel that kind of neutral place. And then lift your legs from the floor. Now, if you were somebody who is like quite weak, maybe very weak through, a back pain episode or something, you could just lift the top leg, would be significantly less weight, but these guys don't seem to be having too much trouble lifting both legs. And so again, we would want to just hold that, take a few breaths, and then let the legs rest back down. You guys can go down. And again, you might want to repeat that a few times. So just take a breath, brace the core, and then when you're ready, you can lift the legs. You need some tone through the legs. You can press one foot into the other so that you have a little bit of energy through the whole chain. I think that's important. Get your body operating as one piece, and then you can bring it back down. Very, very nice. Let's try that on the other side. So you can this is a little bit awkward. I hope somebody with back pain wouldn't have too much difficulty changing sides like that. But we'll go back into our neutral spine, our pretty straight legs, support with your right hand this time. And remember, you got to take first step of bracing the core. And again, this is not a full out brace core. You've just got to get it turned on. We had that subtle experience. That's what we want. These guys, their legs just pop up. Take a couple of breaths with that because you want to make sure you know how to breathe with a braced core. And then you're going to let the legs come down. Again, just give yourself a relaxed breath and then get ready. You're going to just turn it back on, brace the core, and lift the legs. Again, you could be pressing one foot into the other if you want. You can play around with it because you can definitely get a little extra movement. Okay, so let's all come down, and we're going to move on to the next little practice, which is the side plank. So here's how we're going to do it. You guys are going to come up onto your forearm. Same side. We'll just stay on this side. Your knees will be bent. So, yeah, maybe you guys can do that without seeing what I'm doing. No, maybe not. So I'll just face you guys. So you want to have your hip pretty straight, okay? Good. Your hand could go on your hip, but also you have the option of using a block or something, and all we're doing is lifting the hips, okay? If that feels pretty easy, you could put your hand on top. Okay, we're just going to hold that there. And let's bring it down. Now, I didn't cue you to brace your core, but you guys are such champs, you probably did that anyway. So take a deep breath, and then a little core brace. And let's pop up. Now, while you're here, and since you are here, you could take your top leg and step it down. Stu McGill suggests that you step it forward, so you could try that. I feel like this is where one could experiment. I think that's a little far forward, Sarah, and try to put your heel down as well. Yeah, there you go. Okay, let's bring the hip back down, and we'll go to the other side. So again, you can see that strong people might want to repeat this several times. They might want to choose a more difficult version. I think the forearm coming down is just so that you're really focusing on the core. Most of us are a bit stronger with our hand to the floor, and we actually use the fascial lines a lot more effectively this way. This is kind of taking that support out. So when you're doing this particular one, it's really kind of just focused on the core rather than the whole fascial chain. Okay, when you're ready, you can bring the hip down. The key part, though, is to learn how to brace and then lift and then keep breathing. Okay, so that's kind of the common thread through all of these practices. You can try working with the top leg lifted. We'll do one more on this side where you guys can explore coming straight from the feet. So let's come down. Let's take a little rest. Nice deep breath. And then if you want to try, you guys can have your forearm on the floor. And you can either stack your feet or you can take 1 foot forward. I actually prefer to have that top leg back. That's me though. Okay, and then you can lift. So you guys are pretty strong. I think that might be where you would ordinarily practice. All right, let's bring that down. Good. Let me see where we're going next. Okay, we're going to go into some cat-cow now. So into table pose. Spread the fingers open wide. Root down into the pads of your fingers and then dial your hands away from each other. Okay, and then you're pressing into the top surfaces of your feet. Now, one thing Stu McGill does not talk about is hand to core, foot to core, body as one piece connection. And I think this would really help people with back pain. So I'm incorporating that here. So as we press into the pads of the fingers, we're dialing the hands away from each other, securing the shoulders, and then we're pressing into the top surfaces of the feet so that we're activating our fascia through the legs and into the core. So we have hand to core, feet to core. All right, now we're gonna move into cat-cow, but we'll move subtly, all right? So instead of your usual full range motion, we'll inhale, send your tail up, stretch your belly forward, and stay just out of neutral, okay? So not a lot of spine extension. And then point the tail down, pull the belly in, slightly cave the chest, and tuck the chin. So just notice that is front body activation. Let's take an inhale, and we'll just activate the back body. So without a lot of movement away from neutral, just notice that. Stay here for a sec for an extra breath. Dial the hands away from each other. Okay, so neutral would probably be here. We're just out of neutral. If we lift the head, you can feel your whole back line is active. So you don't need to go further for that to happen, okay? Now let's see what happens when we go in the other direction. Tuck your tail ever so slightly, tuck the chin, and you'll notice how easy it is to squeeze the belly here. You have activated your front body. All right, now let's give ourselves a bit more freedom of movement. Inhale, raise the head and the tail. Exhale, tuck it under. So people that are experiencing, keep going you guys, people who are experiencing back pain may experience it in extension. They may, which is our cow position. They may experience it in flexion, which is our cat position. Or they may experience it on side bending. So we're going to side bend now, you guys. Come to the neutral position, and then right shoulder toward right hip. And then left shoulder to left hip. Okay, let's go back and forth a few times. You guys can carry on in your own good time. So I'll tell you what will naturally happen here if you don't think about it. Your belly's going to drop. So let's let our belly drop. Notice that the tail's going to go up. And now when we go right shoulder to right hip, that right there is also a place where people often will have back pain, okay? Because of the pelvic position. Do you see that anterior tilt? So if we can hold a bit more of a brace in the core and go side to side, that usually helps people stay out of the pain zone as well. So remember, like the spine is meant to move in multiple directions and planes, and it's also needs to be braced. So we don't want to eliminate movement ever, but we want to ease into it and build our tolerance of these positions if we've had back pain. So that's basically what we're doing. Getting to know our spine a little bit better. All right, gang, you guys are awesome. Let's come back to center and we'll try bird dog. Now, Stu McGill's version of bird dog is with a core brace. So there is not flexion and extension in the spine here. So again, this is training the core brace. So from table pose, feel free to pad your knees if you need. We're just going to find our neutral position. So if you want to, just kind of mobilize the spine again and just find your nice neutral position where you have the normal curves expressed in the spine. So we're not tucked under, we're not overextending, we're somewhere in the middle. And now we're just going to feel the forces that move through the body as the arms and legs move. So we'll work with our right hand first. Hold your brace. Again, you know how to brace now. Let's just take the right hand forward. And we're going to notice that there'll be all of a sudden a lot more weight in the left hand. Your body's probably going to want to lean over to the left. So let's try to keep it in the middle, and we'll just work with the forces moving through the body right now. And then we'll bring the right hand down. Okay, let's hold our brace, stay in the center. We'll try that with the left hand. You don't have to try and lift the hand as high as you can. We're just feeling the forces. You can feel you want to lean over to the right now. So can I try to keep the middle in the middle? Okay, let's bring the left hand down. We'll go to the right leg now. So first of all, get your neutral position happening. Press down into the top surface of your left foot and then take your right foot back. Now we want to make sure that when we take the right leg back, we don't lift it up so high that we get extension in the spine, right? Because we're trying not to let the spine move. We're bracing it. Okay, let's bring the right knee down. Find your center. Let's go to the left leg. So again, the challenge here is to not let the belly spill forward because it would naturally want to do that. That's sort of the direction of ease. So the challenge is to maintain your neutral core. Great. Let's bring the knee down. Now, we're going to try taking a child's pose. I know you guys can all do child's pose, but a child's pose is a flexed spine, slightly, and it would put some tension across the structures on the back side of the spine. So believe it or not, not everyone is going to be able to do child's pose comfortably. Most people can though. So again, that would have to be offered and we see how we do with it. Just for a little break, because we're going to come back and do a little bit more variation on the bird dog. Okay, you guys ready? You guys are perfectly fine. So, okay, let's go back into table. And this time, we'll find our core brace. We're going to hold our spine nice and steady. And then we'll send the left leg back. Again, don't lift it higher than you can fully maintain your core. And then we'll take the right hand forward. Now, this is already a big progression if people are unfamiliar and people are, just trying to get out of pain, just trying to rehab their spine. So you could do something like this, like inhale, and then exhale, touch down to the floor with your hand and your foot, and then sweep in toward under the body, and then bring it out again. It's kind of like sweeping the floor and pick it up. So again, our goal here is no spine movement. So let's try that. Everything is an experiment. Sweep the hand forward and pick it up. One more time for good measure. Bring it in. Bring it out. You know, even for people with healthy spines, working with this level of awareness, let's put hand and knee down, actually takes a lot of concentration. And, you know, we're all being very careful that we're not moving, so that takes a lot of effort. Set yourself, and then we'll take the right leg back. Again, we're not lifting it super high, just want to give ourselves a challenge here. Then the left hand comes up. We try to keep the middle in the middle. Belly is being lifted away from the mat. And then we'll try sweeping the mat. So bringing the hand down, trying no spinal flexion. Sweep it out again. Not going into extension. Not going into flexion. When you're used to letting your spine move, it takes a lot of concentration. We'll just come under one more time. And then we'll go back and hold. And hand can come down, and foot can come down. So let's just wiggle that out, and we'll just try one more variation. So, you know, I think if you're introducing this to a new group, probably just one or two variations would be plenty, but we'll show you a very challenging variation. You guys ready? Okay, so let's once again begin with the right leg. We'll go right leg. I think we just did right leg, but anyways, left hand forward. Okay, so we're braced in the core, and what we're going to do is very slowly bring the hand and foot down a little bit, then move it out a little bit, bring it back up, and then back towards center. So we're trying to describe a square with the fingertips and the toes. So we go down, outside, up, inside, down, outside, up, inside. One more time. Down, outside, up, inside. Hold it, and hand down, foot down. So again, that's pretty challenging if you're trying for no movement in the core. Let's try left leg back, right hand forward. Just hold your position, keep yourself braced, and we'll start with going down, outside, up, inside. Down, outside, up, inside. Down, outside, up, inside. One more. Down, out, up, and in. Hold, and hand comes down, knee comes down. Okay, let's try one more, just because we can. You guys know this one. So we'll take the right leg back, left hand forward. Just hold the center line, hold your brace, and now just take your arm and leg off to the side. So this is where a nice little isometric hold would be good. And again, it's very tempting to let the belly drop down, so we're constantly lifting the belly, holding the brace. Return to center. Return hand and knee to the floor. Take one full breath, brace the core. Left leg goes back, right hand come forward. Inhale, exhale off to the side, and we'll just maintain. Press into left hand and top surface of right foot. Lift the belly, keep the breath. Return to center, hand to the floor, knee to the mat. Let's go back into child's pose. Again, if that's actually appropriate, you can take child's pose. So just a bunch of bird dog variations. And again, you know, you can eventually progress somebody to flexing and extending the spine, no problem. But that, you can see there's a fair bit of load and challenge for the core. So if you're learning how to brace the core, that will really seal the deal. Okay, now we're going to hop up on our feet. And we'll do what has now been named intense healing pose, which I really love. So our intense healing pose is that simple single leg isometric hold. And if you have ever done this for like even a minute, you know why we're doing this. if you've never done it, you might be puzzled why we would do something like this. But if you've done it before, you already know, you know. Okay, so we're going to do this. Great toe grounds, knee dials out on the standing leg. We kind of measure, we turn the toe up toward the knee, and we just stand up straight and tall. Now, if you're working with somebody who, their balance is not good, but they want to, activate their core, which is really coming from the foot through the pelvis to the core of the body and upward, the longer you stay here, then, you could always have a finger on the wall or something like that, not as a crutch, but just in case they need it. And of course, what we're trying to do here is stay here for a period of time so that we can really build some of that deep fascial tone and deep core strength, which amounts to the same thing. Okay, so how long would I recommend? So if you are new to it, try for about 30 seconds, and then you work your way up. Kind of the gold medal length of time would be about 5 minutes. So you see that it would take you a very long time to get all the way there. Let's change legs, though, for the purpose of this video. Great toe grounds, knee dials out. We stand super tall. We measure, and then we go into our intense healing pose. And it's this name is appropriate because there is so much healing, body awareness, and strength building that happens here. And, this is ideal for somebody who needs to regain their foot strength, the strength of the muscles around the knee, the strength of the muscles around the hip, the strength of the core muscles around the pelvis. So, it is really something for everybody. And, something like this will maintain your walking, your ability to walk, all of the structures that are associated with your ability to walk. So again, just super, super high value little practice here. And not only that, but again, as you hold it for longer, you go into other experiences of this, and build some mental strength and discipline. So that kind of strength comes as well. So we'll just take one more big breath and we'll let it go. Okay, so again, start off with around 30 seconds and then work your way up. And I do think that especially in a remedial class like this would be, using a timer is appropriate. Okay, now we're going to do something that involves a little bit of movement, but a core brace at the same time. So we'll start on our left foot. We're just going to take our right foot off to the side. We need to organize and activate and get tall on our hip. And then we brace the core. And then we're going to start making small circles. So right now, my right foot is moving in a clockwise direction, just so you guys can keep track of what you're doing. So I'm making little tiny circles and I'm not moving my pelvis. So this is a good place to start. But over time, you're going to want to see how the body eventually responds to larger circles. So what we want to have here is kind of dynamic stability. So we have the core braced, but not so braced that there's no movement allowed to happen, right? It's controlled. It's controlled. Okay, let's just keep it going for a little bit longer. Again, you're building some standing strength over here. That's also a bit dynamic because there's movement happening. And 2 and 1. Nice. Let's try the other leg. So we'll stand nice and tall. We organize and activate. We'll take the left toes off to the side. I'm going to recommend counterclockwise, of course, because we're on the other foot now. So whenever you're ready, first of all, start with really small circles, minimal movement happening. Lots of breathing, though. You have a core brace and you're breathing. And then just start, okay, where is the movement? I'm going to allow some movement to happen. Oh, that's interesting for me. It's a little more awkward on this side. So this reflects my handedness probably. So circle, circle, circle. Movement all the way up to the shoulders here. Ooh, I got to practice this a little more. All right, and let's bring the foot to the floor and just shake that off. Beautiful. Now we'll work with a little bit more spine movement. Again, that involves control. So let's bring the arms up. We'll just take the hands and rest them on the head. So we're not super challenging the arms and we're just staying focused on the core here. So great toes will be close together. Of course, if you prefer your feet a little bit apart, it's all good. Press down into the great toes, dial your knees away from each other. Let's get nice and tall. Making sure our knees remain unlocked. You can start to squeeze heels toward each other. Bring that energy up through the spine. And then just slightly tilt toward the right side. So again, we want to just do small movement before we do big movement here. Okay, and one of the things we want to learn here is to keep the pubic bone to breastbone connection. Okay, so if a person with back issues, they might kind of naturally spill forward. Again, this extension twisting position is really often implicated in back injuries. So we want to learn how to keep this. This is part of our core brace, the pubic bone to breastbone connection. So can we keep that turned on? Keep the legs active. Let's come up and see if we can do that on the other side. Again, it doesn't look like we're doing a whole lot, but there's a lot going on inside the body. So knees are unlocked. Pubic bone to breastbone as we bend the body to the side. And then, over time, as you start to feel more confident that you can control your movement, you can start to bend a little bit more. But at first, you don't want to make it a huge bend because you just bend a little bit and the muscles turn on. So that is sufficient for learning. If you want to strengthen, increase range of control over time, you work with progressive overload. All right, let's come up, take it nice and easy, and we'll bring the arms down, relax your shoulders, link your hands, and we'll turn the body toward the right. Now, again, if you are working with back issues, you're going to just be modest in how much you turn, but we're going to activate, okay? So turn wherever you feel comfortable doing, and then start to push down into the left foot. Keep the knee unlocked and make sure you're dialing it out, firming the thigh and the seat, and then keeping the seat kind of squeezing. You're kind of squeezing your butt on your left side. Start to squeeze the shoulder blade toward your left hip. So you're not pulling yourself anywhere. You're actively moving your torso around. And now, if you want, you can also add pulling the right hand away from the left hand while you turn your gaze, turn your eyeballs, and breathe. Okay, so we can't forget about pubic bone to breastbone here. And we want to have the breath super steady and full. Keep pressing into the left foot. And then bring the head back to neutral. Let your body follow. And then we'll just let go of that for a sec. Okay, hands can come back up. Maybe you're going to switch this time. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, you're going to turn. And just turn wherever you naturally turn. And then we'll start to activate, pressing down into the right foot, energizing like you're dialing the right knee out. Squeeze the right buttocks. Start to squeeze the left shoulder blade toward right hip. Start to pull the left hand away from right hand. Pubic bone to breastbone. Very nice. Turn the head back to the front. Let the body follow, and we'll just swing that out. Beautiful. So we'll give those arms a little bit of a rest, and we're going to take our feet a little bit wider apart. So one of the actions that people need to maintain is the squat. So whether or not you have back issues, so we're just going to have our feet pretty wide apart. You'll notice I'm going to still try to keep my great toes pointing straight ahead. And we know that we need to dial the knees out. Okay, guys? So let's just experiment with coming up and down a little bit. So keep your heart lifted. Remember your core brace, and then just sit down and come up. Let's just do this a few times. So keep your heart lifted, keep your core braced. Think about pubic bone to breastbone here. So what we want to avoid is tucking under. We don't want to tuck our tail. Okay, and we don't want to overarch the spine and stick the butt out. We want to find that neutral place. That's what we keep finding here. Just take it up and down a few more times. You're working with your core brace. If now you in your own body have the capacity to come all the way down, you can see about coming all the way down and then pushing all the way up. See if there's a point where you lose the neutral position. And then the knees start singing songs. And come up. Great. One more time. Let's hold at whatever our bottom is. And then put hands to the floor and step back, putting your belly on the floor. So we're going to have the right hand on top of the left hand. Okay, forehead on stacked hands for now. Pubic bone rooting. Now let's extra root the pubic bone and pull the belly away from the mat. And then let it go. Take a breath. Go back into rooting the pubic bone and pulling the belly away from the mat. So doing that without like rounding the spine or anything. Okay, keep the spine pretty neutral. Let's try it again. Pubic bone down. Squeeze the belly away from the mat. And then soften. Great. So now let's turn the head. We're going to look at our right elbow and put the side of the head on top of the right hand. Okay? So left side of the head on top of the right hand. Good. Now, keeping your hand and your head connected, inhale, pick up your elbow and your head and your hand, keeping your left hand on the ground. All right, and then bring it down. Good. This time, let's pay more attention to the front of our torso as we lift, okay? So rooting pubic bone, keeping some tone in the belly. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, bring it down. Okay, one more time just like that. So not so much tone that you can't breathe, okay? But pubic bone down. Very good. And bring the hand down. Okay, we're going to take it to the other side. We'll come back for a variation in a moment. So side of the head on the left hand now. Root your pubic bone. Create some tone in the front side. Inhale. Take it one more extra breath up here. And exhale. Full breath. And then root down, squeeze your belly, and bring it up. And bring it down. Good. Last time, root down and pick it up. And there's no necessity to get it up a certain height or anything. Let's bring it down. We're going to switch hands, turn your head. Okay, so this time, root your pubic bone. You're going to lift your left leg all the way off the floor, like up to the front of your hip. Okay, so just do that. And then you're going to bring it down. Okay, pubic bone roots. Let's keep some tone in the belly as you lift the leg. You want to connect the leg to the tone in the belly. And come down. Now let's try lifting the hand and the leg, or the arm and the leg at the same time. So head, arm, opposite leg. Yes, and bring it down. Let's take a full breath when we're down. And then again, pubic bone, some tone in the belly. Let's pick it up. This again is actually from Isometric. So I suppose I should have included Isometric as the inspiration here. Let's take one more round.
Awesome.
And bring it down. Great. Let's switch hands. Root pubic bone. Right leg comes up. Keep the leg super straight. Breathe. And bring the leg down. Good, just relax for a breath. And then once again, you're going to lift the leg up, right up to its connection to the pelvis. And bring it down. Great. So now we'll do arm and leg. So root pubic bone, tone the belly, arm and leg come up together. In and out through the breath. And bring it down. Full cycle of breath at the bottom. Bring it up. Stay for a full cycle of breath. And bring it down. We'll just do one more. All right, when you're ready, up we come. Full cycle of breath in, out, and take it down. Good. Forehead on stacked hands, bend your knees, windshield wiper from side to side. So again, these are small, very precise movements. They can be a little bit intense in terms of concentration. Okay, so from here, we're going to press ourselves back, again, into child's pose if that's possible. And then from child's pose, we'll walk ourselves back. Just take the legs and fold them under us, and we're going to go into bridge pose now. Okay, so you just wiggle yourself into your mat and roll yourself down for bridge pose. Okay, so again, this bridge pose is going to be very core focused. And we've already experimented with what happens when we press down into our feet. So we'll be working with that again here. Tuck your shoulder blades under your body. And feet are parallel. Great toes are grounded. Knees dialing away from each other. So you can see how that is naturally going to make your pelvis want to lift. So let's not lift, but let's kind of work with a combination of the arch and curl and our organize and activate. Okay, so here's what we'll do. Press down into the feet, energize like you're dialing them away from each other, and then anterior tilt the pelvis. Keep pressing into the feet and posteriorly tilt the pelvis. So basically we did the arch, and now this is the curl. So okay, go into the arch, pressing into your feet, and go into the curl, pressing into your feet. So because we're using our feet pressing and organizing and activating, we want to see if we can be aware of pelvic floor as we do this. Okay, so press into your feet to activate your pelvic floor and your lower belly. Okay, one more time. Okay, and now let's go again into the middle. Okay, so a neutral pelvis. Press into your feet, a little engagement of pelvic floor and lower belly. And now just pick up your pelvis and try for a straight hip here. Okay, so rather than curling, sort of curving your bridge upward, we'll just try to keep it straight. Again, so that we're reinforcing the more neutral position. Again, this is so that people know there are positions they can go into that they're unlikely to have a pain trigger. Super neutral position. Press down into your feet. Hold your neutral position. You're allowed to use your buttocks if you want. You're also allowed to push your feet toward the front of the mat if you want. Again, try to keep connecting your feet to your core. You know, the pelvic floor is the floor of the core. So, you know, I feel like that is really important to establish a connection with if you're trying to keep out of back pain or any other dysfunction for that matter. Okay, so this is a good one to stay in for a little while. But again, for the purpose of this video, we're going to roll it down. And we're just going to relax our hips. So if your students are comfortable in something like happy baby pose, they can go there. Otherwise, they could just have the hands on the knees and just rock your body a little bit from side to side. So whichever position feels good to them, or they're even welcome to just have hands around the shins and rocking the body from side to side. Let everybody choose. And then we're going to put the feet on the floor and have your feet pretty wide apart now, guys. And your feet are not anywhere near your buttocks, okay? So now we're just going to let some very natural movement happen, okay? So arms are a little distance from your body, kind of like they would be in Shavasana, okay? And best you can, let your knees tip over toward the right side. Just let them fall and notice what happens to the rest of the body. I'm going to sort of cheat a little bit and tell you, like, notice if it feels normal, natural for your head to slightly roll toward the left side if your knees went to the right. Okay, now gather through your belly. Bring the knees back. Let them fall over toward the left, and you'll notice your head wants to turn to the right. Okay, so now gather through the belly. You've got to move from the belly. Take it to the other side. And you're going to easy. You're just going to let that go on side to side. Okay? So again, this is a very sort of a lazy action that's being done here. It's actually a kind of pendiculation, which is another somatics thing. And you're just letting yourself observe the natural spirals that happen in the body. And that, again, is something we need to regain if we've, kind of been limiting our movement because of back pain of any kind. Okay, so let's just do it a couple more times. So we need to get comfortable with the natural, sort of more or less passive movements. We need to be comfortable bracing the spine. We need to be comfortable controlling spinal movement. So those are all the things we're trying to regain in a practice like this. Okay, we're going to come back into center now, and I'll just invite you to slide the heels forward for a Shavasana. So sometimes if you have people with back issues, they might be comfortable putting blocks under the knees. So something like this. Okay, so that might be a little bit more comfortable, so you can invite people to do that, or use bolsters or whatever else you might have handy. Okay, so that's it for this back care class. And, it's under 60 minutes. You might have a group that you would try more variations with, or that you would give a bit more coaching to, or throw some other things in that you might enjoy. But hope you got something out of that. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye for now.